Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm really excited for today's episode of the Search Bar podcast. So I'm just curious, is your website turning away potential customers without you even knowing it? Do you know that your digital storefront might be close to millions of visitors right now? I'm Eric Ritter, and on today's episode of the Search Bar, we're uncovering the hidden barriers that could be costing you business. Joining us is Gil Magen, the head of product marketing from Accessibility, who will reveal why 98% of websites are failing at accessibility and what that means to your bottom line. And make sure you stay tuned at the end for our exclusive web accessibility checklist that could save you from costly lawsuits and lost revenue. Gil, thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you so much for having me, Eric. It's great to be here.
I'm really excited. So I know you're an expert on web accessibility, and I'm just curious, just setting it up at the beginning here. What is web accessibility and why does it matter?
When people are asking me what is the number one problem with web accessibility is basically that people are not aware of web accessibility. So in essence, web accessibility is the practice of building your website in a way that will make it seamless for everyone, regardless if it's a person with or without disability, to consume whatever content that you have on the website. So you have the technical standard, which is the WCAG, which is a long guide that guides you how to build website in a way that will make it easy for everyone to engage your website. Not a lot of people know, but when talking to on US, so 26% of the US population is living with some kind of disability. If you want to make sure that your brand is inclusive, if you want to make sure that your website is inclusive and that your digital door is open to everyone, you need to make sure that this huge chunk of the population can actually access the content that on your website.
Yeah, that's a big percentage, Gil, right? And for me, I focus a lot on SEO and search engine optimization, right? And a lot of times that really revolves around user-friendly content, right? Because you want to make sure you have the best user experience. And so if you're not being accessible on the website or making sure that people that need that extra help for it to be accessible aren't able to be there, you don't have a user-friendly website, period, right? You're excluding a lot of people. You don't have that great user experience that's going to help you perform better in search rankings. And a lot of people forget about that. It's not just for people that come to the website, but it's also part of your SEO marketing mix and helping people find the website and come up higher in rankings, right?
Exactly. So web accessibility is a lot of people tend to think about it as just the law or a matter of compliance, but it has to do with a lot of other things, including the performance of your website. So if your website is not accessible, it's not just it's not accessible for people with disabilities. It probably says that your UX is not ideal for people, also for people without disabilities. And if the experience that you provide for your website visitors are not ideal. So if you follow the guidelines of how to make your website accessible, it's for the benefit of everyone. It's not just for people with disabilities.
Couldn't agree more. I would like to get into common failures, kind of let's get in the weeds here, how people kind of make those mistakes. And a lot of times they're unknowingly, right, doing these things and alienating potential customers through critical mistakes. And again, I have an SEO background, right? So a lot of times we talk about, alt text on images, right? Which we just look at from an SEO standpoint, but that's actually accessibility failure, right, Gil?
Yeah, for sure. And this is probably one of the most common mistakes that website owners are doing. So for people who need more context, what does alt text actually mean? So alt text is the text that describes what's on the image and what is it good for. So usually when a person who is blind browsing the web, what they will use is a technology called screen reader. What a screen reader is doing is it reads out loud the content that's on the website. Now, when a screen reader will get to a certain image, if it will lack an alt text, what the user will hear is only image, meaning it will miss the context. Now, it might seem not that critical. But let's take, for example, an e-commerce website, and if you're selling clothes and you have a certain shirt on the image, if you won't provide the necessary alt text, a person who would want to purchase this t-shirt wouldn't be able. And there is a misconception that people with disabilities, they're looking for other ways, or they have someone who's helping them. That's a huge misconception, because people with disabilities, they have a great spending power, and you just need to tap into it. And not only that, even when talking, to other type of disabilities, if you do not make your website accessible in a way that will allow them to complete the purchase, usually result in someone bouncing out and going to another vendor.
Yeah. And I mean, you talk about people, that might have, any kind of disability. It's much easier for them to shop online, right? They're not, a lot of times they're going to avoid going to a store or shopping mall or whatever. That's going to be even harder to navigate. So it's definitely a big misconception. These people are shopping online, right? And that's where they're spending their money. So you want to make sure that your website doesn't make it harder to them. You're not making any of the mistakes, right? So we talked about the alt tags. There's also poor contrast ratio, right, between text and background colors. You'll often see, right, because a lot of people think, hey, this website looks great, right? We have this gray text on, a white background, which even for myself, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing like, hey, I like the black on white, right? Or something that's very easy to read. Otherwise, to your point, as you mentioned, people might just leave or bounce because they are not able to read what it says on the website. So there's a lot of things we don't think about. It's making sure that people have that great experience and they're able to achieve what they want to on the website, which includes the navigation. Right. And so one mistake I see a lot, even on SEO standpoint, right, we talk about links, internal links as well. And if the link just says click here, you don't know what's behind there, right? You want to make it descriptive, just like you said with the image, right? If people are using a screen reader, you're going to say image, image, image. If the text isn't descriptive, you're going to say click here, learn more, which really doesn't tell me what happens when I click that link.
Exactly. And it's not just for, that's a great example of how web accessibility is good for, not just for people with disabilities, it's for everyone. When you say learn more, what does it actually mean? Like you do not tell the end user what they will get when they will click the learn more. What am I supposed to learn more? What do you have for me once I click on this specific button? So once you create a clearer call to action, it's good for it's everyone will benefit from that.
Absolutely, right. Couldn't agree more. The conversion rate optimization is something we talk about quite a bit, and accessibility is a huge part of that, right? Just making sure that your website's optimized for that entire customer journey there, right? Which can even be, let's say, videos, right? You have a video on a website, it doesn't have captions or transcripts on there, right? That's for people, even if that person doesn't have a disability, they might not be in a environment where they can have their audio on, right? And they don't have headphones with them. So it just makes sense to have captions and transcripts there. So it just completes that customer journey, no matter, who that person is that's on the website.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. You can think of people who are on commute and they want to understand what is this video has to offer for them. But if you won't have this, these captions, they will just, skip or scroll to the next video. Because we talked about SEO, and we talked about the spending power. So just, as a person who's working from, in a web accessibility company, the data speaks from, on its own. So when talking about SEO, for example, a known research that was done in partnership with SEMrush actually, went through and examined almost 900 websites who make their website accessible, and they checked that, before the website was accessible and afterwards, and the results were there was a 12% in average in increase of overall traffic for all domains, and almost 74% of those domains saw growth in organic traffic. So these are substantial numbers that you need to understand. Or when talking to the spending power of people with disabilities. So a few researchers that examined their buying power show that people with disabilities and their circles that around them has more than $13 trillion in spending power. So you cannot it's actually a bad business decision to overlook this segment.
Wow, that's some big numbers there, right? And you said, from SEO standpoint, increasing rankings, I think it's like 74% of websites, right? It's three quarters, can't do math here, sorry. It's 3/4, right? That's a huge number. And then trillions of dollars in the business impact as well, right? It's a smart business move, period. Right. To think of web accessibility, and there's so much that goes into it, goes hand in hand. Right. Because I always like to say SEO isn't just search engine optimization. It's a right way to build a website. It's a right way to make sure you have clear navigation. You have those structures in place so that people can find their way for whatever they're looking for, right? So, I think navigation is important in that, right? So that's where SEO business impact comes together. If I can't find on the website what I'm looking for, I'm not going to purchase from you. I'm not going to convert to whatever you want there, right? So, again, I just can't echo it enough or underline it, right? You're missing out on big business or on that business impact if you're not thinking about optimizing your website, and optimization equals accessibility.
Another misconception that web accessibility is something, it's daunting, it's too complex, or it's too expensive, and technology changed all of that with the surge of using and implementing artificial intelligence in all of these solutions. It basically democratized the web accessibility industry. So web accessibility wasn't accessible for everyone. If you wanted to work on your web accessibility, it was something that was served only for enterprises. But today, basically, you can start your web accessibility journey in a relatively easy way and make your website much more accessible, because it's not a 0 or 1. It's not that either my website accessible or not. Web accessibility is a journey, and you should start the journey today in making your website even a little bit more accessible than it used to, because it's every step counts, and it's very important that more and more website owners will understand that they need to make their website accessible.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I like how you said the democratization of it, right? Where before it would be big investments in technical resources, developers, designers, and everything to kind of have different versions of the website. And I know there's different solutions out there, which one of those is Accessibility, Gil, and I would love to kind of hear a little bit more. So we use Accessibility here at my company, right? And it seems very straightforward. It's just a snippet of code you put on the website, and then it automatically updates everything for you. And is it really that easy, or am I missing anything there?
So it really depends. So what we're trying to do at Accessibility is basically to make web accessibility accessible for everyone. So it really depends on the kind of business you are and what are the right the resources that you have at your at your reach in order to understand how you want to go about web accessibility. So some will decide to go about it with full automation. They will implement the widget, which is great, and it will do most of the heavy lifting for you. Some will say, hey, we have we are fortunate enough to have dev power that we can allocate towards making our website accessible. So we have another tool called Access Flow, who's specifically for developers. What this tool is doing is basically it creates sort of like a co-pilot for developers and saves a lot of time for them, and saves a lot of and bridge a lot of knowledge gap, and putting the focus on the accessibility barriers on the source code, and making all kind of recommendation and creating all kind of flows depending on the prioritization or the severity of the problem, and then we go hand in hand with the developer in order to make your website to make their website accessible. So it really depends on what are their kind of resources. But the idea is, if I want people to take one thing from this conversation, is like, don't overthink it. The first thing you need to do is to understand your web accessibility status. You can, we offer a free tool on our website called Access Scan that you can enter the website, only paste your URL, and you'll get, your accessibility status in a matter of seconds. Once you understand, where your website stands in terms of web accessibility, then you can understand or decide what are the actions that you want to do about web accessibility. What is the direction that is best for your business? But don't wait. Don't wait. Just, take the first step, and it's a journey. It's not something, it's not a set and forget it. It's a journey that you start, and it's not as scary as people tend to think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you almost jumped ahead here really to the website accessibility checklist, right? Kind of that first step there. So let's talk about that, right? Because there's in my opinion, 5 critical steps to protect your business. And you already got into number 1, which I think is the most important one, is running that accessibility audit, right? So those are using different tools to identify issues. And you mentioned Accessibility has a free tool, right? Was it called Access Scan?
Access Scan, yeah. You can go to our website at accessibility.com. You'll find it on our navigation bar. You'll find the tool, and you can understand in a matter of second your accessibility status.
That's awesome. Yep. And so to your point, right, number 1, the step is just figuring out what's even going on, right? Kind of diagnosing the issue there and understanding it doesn't need to be scary, right? You can use a tool to figure it out. And then there's some other steps that you can take, right? You can partner with Accessibility. And as you mentioned, there's different levels, different types of solutions. And so the next 4 steps that I want to share here are pretty, can be straightforward. They can be easy if it's a small website. It's a bigger website, it might be a little bit of a bigger undertaking. But I think really important next step is the keyboard navigation. And that's one that's often overlooked, right? So you want to verify that all website elements can be accessed using only a keyboard. And so those are, making sure that all the indicators are visible. Those are for people, you mentioned people that might be vision impaired, right? That are using a keyboard or a screen reader to navigate a website. And so that basically is using keyboard navigation. So making sure that the website is able to do that is really important.
Yeah, and not only that, we have people who have like motor disabilities who are using all kind of navigation tools. There are people who are basically navigating through the website using sort of like a mouse stick on with their mouse. And just think that you want to get, if they're not using the mouse, if they want to get to the middle of the website, if they will need to click 100 times to get to a specific t-shirt they want to buy, they would definitely not buy it.
Absolutely agreed. So that keyboard navigation is important. Moving on to number 3 here is we already talked about it quite a bit, and it's important. I learned about it when I first learned SEO probably 15 years ago, which is the alt text, right? And implementing alt text has always been important. It always will be important, kind of having descriptive alt text. Again, it's not just for SEO stuffing keywords in there, but it's actually to help people understand what is that image. So you want to keep it concise, you want to keep it descriptive, and you don't want to have generic terms like image 1, 2, 3, or just stuff in your keyword of like, hey, I'm trying to rank really high for personal injury attorney. Don't just put personal injury attorney in there. Maybe it's a photo of the attorneys at work, right? So that people understand what that photo is about.
Yeah, for sure. And also and when it comes to alt text, like don't be afraid and get too concerned whether I'm doing it right or wrong. The way, just do it and think, if you need to describe this image to someone, even next to you, what is it, the thing that you're looking at? It should be very, very simple, and it's better than what you just, Eric described, image 1, 2, 3.
Exactly. Anything's gonna be better than that, really.
For sure.
Once you get started. Awesome. So number 4 is the color contrast. And I already mentioned that earlier, right? It's for all kinds of people. There's a reason the newspaper is black on white. And we kind of say that, right? Because it's very easy to consume. It ensures that the text is readable against any kind of background. And also there's tools. I'm assuming the access scan from Accessibility probably looks at color contrast as well, right? To make sure, that you're even being compliant, right? There's different compliance measures there, but also just from an optimization standpoint that people can consume that content.
Yeah, for sure. And again, another example of web accessibility component that it's not just for people with disabilities. If I'm entering a website and the contrast is bad, it's bad for everyone. It will for sure shorten your dwell time on the website. When your dwell time is getting shorter, obviously we all know it affects SEO. So everything is combined. And at the end of the day, we're talking about creating a good user experience for everyone.
Couldn't agree more. That really sums it up, right? Creating a good user experience for everyone, right? And I just want to wrap up the checklist. Number 5, we already talked about it, providing transcripts and captions, right? Important for everyone, right? So any kind of content that you have, you want to make it accessible to people. You don't just need to be hearing disabled or a person that has issues hearing. You can just be someone who's, you mentioned, who's on their commute, right? On the train or whatever, and they can't listen to the audio. So you want to make sure you have those transcripts there. And then also making sure that the media players are as accessible as possible.
For sure. Another great example of it doesn't have to be so complicated. There are numerous tools out there that you can use to add these captions. And again, everything that you'll do to make your website accessible, it's better than not doing anything. You shouldn't be in the game of 0 of 1. You should be in a place where that you're saying, I'm doing the best I can. And the best I can is obviously different from, and differs from one business to another. But, make sure that you do your best in your best capability in order to make your website accessible for everyone.
I couldn't agree more. I think this was a fantastic conversation, Gil. Thank you so much for joining today. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to accessibility. And I definitely recommend we use them ourselves, Accessibility, going to the website, just doing a free scan to get started. Anything else you want to share with the audience today, Gil, before we sign off?
So I'll just say that a lot of people are thinking about web accessibility as a compliance chore. Yes, web accessibility has it is the law. You have to make your website accessible, but it's not. We just covered numerous reasons why it's for your benefit to make your website accessible, and it's not just the law. It's at the end of the day, it's a smart business decision that will do good for you for your business. So it's not like a checkbox that you need to tick. It's basically a favor that you're doing for your business in order to make sure that your businesses perform better.
Couldn't agree more. Again, thank you so much, Gil. To our listeners, viewers out there, don't let poor accessibility hold your business back. Head on over. We'll put in the show notes to download the complete website accessibility guide. Head over to Accessibility, to get your free assessment of your website. And we'll help you unlock new markets and protect your business from even costly lawsuits there if necessary. Connect with Gil and me on LinkedIn to stay ahead of the latest digital marketing trends. You'll find our profiles in the show notes. And if this episode opened your eyes to new opportunities, share it with other business owners who might be missing out. Leave a review to help others find this valuable information, and I'll give you a shout out on our next episode. Thanks again for joining this episode of The Search Bar. Now go make your website work for everyone. Cheers, everyone. For today's episode, I'm pouring a delightful Sonoma Valley Zinfandel. This juicy, bold red bursts with blackberry flavors and a hint of pepper spice. It's like that perfectly balanced website, easy to enjoy yet wonderfully complex. Just as this Zinfandel welcomes all wine lovers, great web design and accessible websites welcome every visitor. So grab a glass and join me as we make digital marketing as approachable as this fantastic wine. Again, Sonoma Valley Zinfandel, cannot recommend it enough. Cheers, everyone.